Sacred creation time. What is it and how does it help you? Well, it is a time where we connect with spirit through the spirit guides that help you so that you can get out of your head and into your heart. Because my spirit guides have told me that one of the most important things to grow spiritually, to be happy and fulfilled and successful, is that you have to come from your heart. Because your heart knows the truth of who you are here to be, do, and have. The truth of spiritual truth, the truth that you need to act on so that you can stop living from what your thinking mind thinks you should do, with all the shoulds and have tos, but with what your heart is communicating to you that is for you to be, for you to do, and for you to have. And it is the key to really having that happy, fulfilled life that you desire. Because if there's any area of your life that you're dissatisfied with, you will transform it from dissatisfaction to happy and fulfilled by listening to your higher spirit guides, to your higher self, to your higher power, to spirit. And I do it with you through the spirit guides. So today in this sacred creation time, we're going to create the butterfly light fairy spirit guide portal. And through that creation process, we're going to be sharing her higher guidance, because she's telling me right now that in order to get out of your head and into your heart, or in order to know your truth so you can be happy and fulfilled, there has to be an act of transformation. And that transformation she's going to talk about here later as we get into the creation process. We have to first invite in the guides. And if you're watching this, to please, I invite you, if you have a creative process that you love, whether it's painting or sewing or something else, to do it along with us. Because it is about creating the sacred space, not only here in my sacred art studio, but also where you are. All right? And hi, I'm Deepa. I call myself the creative mystic. And we're going to invite in those spirit guides here in a minute. And the inviting in of these spirit guides is about helping you in your path of awakening. See, we're all on the path of awakening, whether we actually really realize it or not. And that awakening process is about us growing spiritually, maybe growing emotionally, mentally, growing in our careers, in our perspective of how we view life. Because anytime we have a dissatisfaction in our life, it means we have some place that we need to grow and transform in. Because growing is transformation. Now you hear that word transformation a lot, but the butterfly light fairy is talking about that word is an important word to embrace. All right. So in my Sacred Art Studio, it's a place, again, like where I said, we connect with spirit through the spirit guides. We help you use your creative powers, our creative powers, to with spirit to grow spiritually, to give you a divine experience. It is all about experiences that actually transform you. Getting just information is good. Getting knowledge is good, because we want to have a deeper understanding. But it is the experience of that knowledge that truly makes a difference. And that's one of the messages of the butterfly light fairy, okay? And one of the most important things that I'm always hoping that you get out of here is an experience of getting out of your head and into your heart. Because I know whenever I get into my heart, that is the doorway to knowing what is true. Not even just true in spiritual context of spiritual truth, but what's true for you. Because that's the key thing, is that on the spiritual journey of awakening, we want to understand spiritual truth so we know what to act on. But we also want to know what's true for us, because wherever you are in your journey of awakening, you have to sometimes approach things differently. Someone, who is fully awake would do a different thing than somebody who's just a beginner, or someone who's been on the spiritual journey for 10 years or 30 years. That would look different, because the progress you're making would determine the next step you take. And so that is why you have to also know what is true for you. Because knowing what is true for you is about honoring and accepting where you are in your spiritual development. We don't want to pretend we're further along than we are, and we don't want to diminish ourselves and pretend we're not as far along as we are. So, all right. So we are going to start here by calling in the spirit guides, by ringing the bell, because it's a tradition from India to ring the bell to say hello God, hello spirit, and we're going to specifically say hello to the spirit guides. All right. Now, if you've not been here before, please subscribe, because subscribe. Whoops, got it upside down. You'll get notified if you subscribe and turn on your notifications to get notified from my channel. You'll get notified so that you know about the next live. And that way you can get the benefits of the creation time, the spirit guides, because they always are wanting to give you higher guidance. And a lot of times people will ask me, why do you want to know your spirit guides? And I tell people it's because they give you the higher guidance, all right? And that part of awakening is also helping you to awaken all of your spiritual gifts that you have, that you can utilize them in the way they're meant to be used. Because every single soul, especially you if you're watching this, has been born with spiritual gifts. Some you may be aware of, and some you may not know of yet, because that happened for me, and that's why I share this with you. All right? So, hi, Garish Arma. I'm probably not saying that right, but I truly appreciate you sharing and introducing yourself. I hope all of you will give a shout out of introducing yourself and where you're from, because sometimes some people are on and they happen to be in the same city, and part of this is about how do we build community. It's one of the reasons why I do this live 3 times a month, sometimes 4, depends on the month, but it's about how do we build community, because community connection creates synergy. That synergy then magnifies your spiritual gifts, your innate powers, and that magnification of that synergistic effect helps you have faster, more flow in your growth, in your path of awakening, in your journey of awakening yourself to your one true self. All right? So, okay, good. You're from India. Thank you for showing up. So let's just ring this bell, and we're going to do the little ritual to invite in the spirit guides. And then we're going to get into what the butterfly fairy spirit guide has to share with you. And we're going to also do creation time. So if, like I said, you have something you like to create, painting, drawing, watercolors, I do oil painting, please, I invite you to do this with us, because what opened up my gifts, my ability to have this relationship with the spirit guides, was combining creativity with spirituality. And as I've been on this journey with the spirit guides, they have actually awakened me to there's these 4 pillars that are so important in your path of awakening. And as I continue to do these lives, I'm going to start focusing them more on those 4 pillars. So I'll tell you more about that later if the the butterfly light fairy wants me to share more about that. But let's invite in now. So let's just close your eyes for a moment, taking that deep belly breath where the belly rises with the inhalation and falls with the exhalation. And it's just focusing on our breath, taking that deep belly breath in again while it rises with the inhalation and falls with the exhalation. And on the next deep belly inhalation, draw on the energy of focus. And on the exhalation, let go of any distractions, any business of the day. Because as we continue to breathe in and out, we are creating sacred space. The sacred space not only in the physical space, but more importantly in your inner space. Because that is what it's all about, is how do we awaken the sacred space within you? Because as you create the sacred space within yourself, you create sacred space in your physical space. You bring the sacred into everything you create and everything that you do and everything that you're being. Because you as this spiritual soul came here to be, do, and have. All right? So on that next deep belly inhalation, you draw on the energy of focus. And on the exhalation, you let go of any distractions, any business of the day. Continue to breathe in and out at a pace that's comfortable for you. On the next deep belly inhalation, just draw on the energy of divine presence, specifically the divine presence of the butterfly light fairy, so that you can gain her blessings, her guidance. And on the exhalation, allow that divine presence to expand into every fiber of your being. All right, and just continue to breathe in and out. And as you do that, I'm going to ring the bell, and we're going to say hello, hello to the spirit guides. Hello, spirit guides. Hello to the butterfly light fairy. Hello to Yogananda, because Yogananda is coming in too. And with each strike of the bell, feel the resonation bringing in and blessing you with the blessings of the spirit guides. The butterfly light fairies blessing you with the energy of transformation, of the willingness to accept and welcome the transformation. She says she wants to bless you with this because one of the biggest blocks to your transformation of knowing what is true in your heart is the resistance to change, the resistance to something different, the resistance to wanting to keep everything the same. And as the resonating of the bell begins to fade into the distance, just know that the spirit guides have blessed you. And say thank you, thank you, thank you. And know that each spirit guide is here for you. Hi, Craig. Thank you for announcing you're from England. Thank you. We've got lots of people from other places today. That's always good to see. So, the ballerina, not the ballerina, no, the ballerina fairy must be here. I have a ballerina fairy that's in my life because she keeps coming in as I'm speaking too. So the ballerina fairy and the butterfly fairy, light fairy, and Yogananda have come in wanting to share with you today. And part of what they want to share with you, and they want me to keep painting as we're going. So I'm going to get up and get some paint going. This is just, you want me to introduce, this is the butterfly light fairy, where I had a vision of the butterfly light fairy. And in my last live, where I did one called Your Spirit Guides Are Here, where I actually tuned in with different people who wanted to meet one of their spirit guides, that we did that. And I'll probably be doing another one in the future. So if you haven't subscribed and you want to learn, meet one of your spirit guides, I'll be probably doing that in the future here on YouTube. So please subscribe, and you can get notified when that happens. But the butterfly light fairy came in wanting to make themselves be known. And that's the thing about each of the fairy, light fairies and the different guides. They all come. Oh, thank you, Craig. I love it that you're sending positive energy. And the spirit guides are sending you positive energy. So I'm going to start mixing some paint here, and then we're going to start working on the butterfly light fairy. But she came in with this specific blessing of wanting to come into your life, she said, because she said people like to hear the word transformation, but she said people have gotten afraid of transformation. And she says, especially if you've been on the planet longer. So she says, so if you're someone and you're not here, she's saying, but if somebody's like 4 or 5, everything is new and different and constantly transforming, right? Their bodies are transforming. Everything about them is constantly changing and transforming. So she said, but as you've been on the planet longer, what happens for a lot of people is as they've been on the planet longer, they start, because they don't see, even though they see maybe that they're aging in some way, they don't have the large transformation of like a child grows from being, 3 feet to 6 feet, or 3 feet to 5 feet. Doesn't matter the height difference, right? But they say, you start to see this change, and so it becomes very visible to what the change is happening. But she says, as you've been on the planet longer, once you become an adult, the transformations become much smaller that you see, right? And by the time you get into your 20s, early 20s, or a teenager, you might be full grown in height, so you aren't growing as much, and you don't see as many physical changes. And because of that, you start to think that, and get more into that, you want life to be predictable. Predictable, and because you want it to be predictable, you also want things to not change. Now, here's the thing, is most people, they say they don't like change, but then they want something to get better, right? Have you been there? And I'm not saying you are, but if you've been there, you know that maybe sometimes you want something to be different than it is, but you're afraid of the change. Anybody been like that? I'd love to see it in the chat if you want to. But she says, that's the thing we need to help you with. We have to help you embrace the energy of transformation, embrace the energy of she's saying of not knowing. Like she's saying, like if you think about the caterpillar and the butterfly, that caterpillar is going along as a caterpillar and gets into a cocoon. And when they go into that cocoon, they have no idea what they're going to look like when they come out the other side, right? And they're okay with not knowing. They're okay with the transformation process, and they have no idea what's going to happen. But human beings want to know. And so that fear of needing to know blocks your ability to have the transformation that you need in your awakening process. So the butterfly light fairy came because they want you to understand that if you start to work with the energy of the butterfly light fairy, that it can help you in dealing with that fear that comes up. Help you in what transformation do I really want? Because she says the one thing about being a butterfly light fairy in the energy of the light is that your transformation, she's saying, you get a say in what that transformation is. Unlike, she says, like the caterpillar and becoming a butterfly. And that caterpillar doesn't get to choose, like, I want to be a monarch, or I want to be a blue butterfly. I don't know all the different names of butterflies, but they're telling me, like, they don't choose the kind of butterfly they get to be. But you actually get to choose through your spiritual power of being able to use your imagination and your thoughts and your words. You actually get to start to choose what you're going to become. Remember we talked about the path of awakening is about who you're going to be, what you're going to do, what you're here to have, and that be, do, and have. The first part is who are you going to be? Because that who you're going to be determines what you're going to do and what you want to have, right? So if you're not clear on who you want to be, let's say, because a lot of times people come in this world and you get programmed. So you get, in fact, there's families who they tell their kids, well, you know, you're going to follow in the family footsteps and you're going to be a doctor like all of us are doctors. And, you know, you would think even today's day that would be done with, but it's not. You know, like I've seen people on different cooking shows and things just want to be a chef, but like this one guy, he came from a family of doctors. And him telling them that he wanted to be a chef was like disappointing to them at first. Now they're happy with them, but you know, like, so do you have that energy in you? So what that, and I say you, in you, and I'm talking about in your life, where there's a part of you that has been programmed to maybe be something that isn't really true for you, but you heard it so much growing up that you've had a challenge stepping into it. Well, the butterfly light fairy wants to help you with that. And she's come in the form of light because she says that light is something that people believe more that it can be transformed. Is that making sense? Because we tend to think that we can't transform what's going on. So we're going to just get in this first layer. I'm asking the spirit guide, the butterfly light fairy, she just wants me, I haven't even gotten in the whole first layer on this, so she just wants me to get in the first layer so we can start working on the butterfly light fairy looking more like what I saw. We're just getting like the little basics in. This used to be so hard for me to do this in public because it was letting you see something that wasn't done in the level that I want it to be. So, you know, like it was not looking as pretty as I want. And the spirit guides had to tell me to do these lives to get okay with that. Like just really be okay with seeing people in the transformation or in the journey of creating a spirit guide portal, because I didn't want to do that. I like to do it privately. So, you know, that's the thing about the spirit guides is they guide us, not sometimes, often, to do things that we might be totally uncomfortable with. Like I was totally uncomfortable with sharing this process in the beginning. I've been doing it for a while now, but when I first started doing it, I was like, my first one, I was like transparent and said, this is my first time doing this in front of people, and it, you know, was scary for me. So I know it might seem like I'm just talking, but the spirit guide wanted me to share that story because they're saying in your transformation process, they said they wanted me to share that story because when you're in your transformation process, the stuff's going to come up. And so you have to be willing to go through the journey of what comes up. So when you look at a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly, all kinds of things are happening to turn that caterpillar into a butterfly. And we don't get to see any of it as human beings, right? Because it's all happening in a cocoon that we don't actually see. But I bet some scientists have looked at it and can see what's going on. And it's, you know, there's all kinds of transformation happening for that caterpillar to become a butterfly. And so we have to be willing to go through that transformation, and it's not always comfortable. Right? Now, I don't know what the caterpillar feels when it's going through that transformation, but the butterfly light fairy is showing me also a snake, and you know they have to lose their skin at points in their transformation, and it comes off in this one big piece, and I'm thinking that same thing, like it's probably not that comfortable for that big skin to be coming off, you know, and so we have to be willing to go through the uncomfortable things when we're going through transformation. And she says the difference with human beings is once you get to a certain height, a certain age, a certain growth, it's not necessarily physically uncomfortable in the sense of like they talk about kids having growing pains because maybe they're growing so fast. But they're saying that it is an inner uncomfortability because it's going up against the programming that you have that keeps you from moving forward. Because part of the transformation process is that uncomfortable feeling emotionally, like, you know, like, and it, sometimes it actually has a visceral effect for a lot of people, right? When they feel uncomfortable, they might get nauseous in their stomach. They might have anxiety, where they can feel how anxious they feel physically, not just what's going on emotionally. So it can be like it feels physical, even though it's really emotionally based. And the butterfly light fairy is coming as light because the power of creation for you is something that's more malleable. Like, you know, if light's coming through, you can bend it, right? With different things, putting an obstacle in the way. You can transform light by making it a different color, by using a filter. There's all kinds of things that can happen with light that makes us believe that things can be transformed. So she comes in this form because she wants you to start to believe you can be transformed, right? It's not about you're stuck with what you have. And that's the thing about when you start to understand the programming you get growing up, is that all that programming can be transformed. You're not stuck with it. But the first thing that has to happen so it can be transformed is the willingness to go, gee, I want to transform. And that's what the ballerina light fairy is saying, is that when you're in a human body, you actually have to want to transform. Because if you don't, that's when people get stuck. You ever been stuck or felt like you're stuck? She says, well, when you're stuck, when you feel like you're stuck, it's because you haven't been wanting to transform. You haven't been wanting to change. So, and one of the things that she says, she wants you to look at your life, she's saying, and ask yourself, how often do I do something new and different? Or do I do the same habits day after day after day? Because she's saying that to embrace transformation, you have to embrace to not live life as a habit. Now, she's saying that, you know, obviously people talk about good habits and bad habits, and, you know, because we're creatures of habit. But in order to grow on your path of awakening, to grow spiritually, to be open to your spiritual gifts, you have to not live life as a habit. And she wants me to share with you something that happened to me many, 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 many years ago when I got in the spiritual path over Evelyn, good to see you, Evelyn. Yeah, you always connected. You pictured fairy energy. How funny. Yeah, I've had a lot of fairy energy around lately. It's been really interesting to me how the fairies have been around me so much more than they have in the past, or at least that I've noticed. You know, like, it's really our awareness. I tell people, you always have spirit guides around you. It's just a matter of whether you're aware of them. And that I have found is so true. Like, you know, I have a dewdrop fairy I'm working on a different live that I'm doing on a different platform. And then this one came when I did Your Spirit Guides Are Here, and they said, oh, they want me to keep working on it on another live on YouTube. So that's what I'm doing. You know, I saved it and I've been doing it here. But yeah, the spirit guides are here. So they're talking, they want me to share with you about got so into what I was saying. Let me check back in because they definitely wanted me to share a certain thing. They just keep repeating the word transformation. I was feeling like they wanted me to share something about my own transformation, but it's not coming back to me now, so I'm just going to like let that go. And that's the thing about when you're working with the spirit guides is, you know, sometimes I get guided like, oh, I'm supposed to share this story with you. And then somewhere along the line, something changes. And, you know, one of the things I really tune into when we're doing these lives is, you know, who's going to be watching this in the future, who's watching it now, who's live. You know, lots of times they guide me at the end to you know, ask you guys questions because that's what they want me to do. So you just go with it. You know, a lot of times people are worried about being right, and that's the biggest thing you have to let go of when you work with the guides is there is no right and wrong. There's truth, but you just follow what it is. And that's what I do when I'm working with creating the spirit guide portals. I keep tuning in to the ballerina fairy or whatever, you know, spirit guide I'm working with, and asking them what they want me to do. And sometimes what they want me to do, it doesn't look very pretty, and I have to work with, you know, like overcoming that ego thought of, ooh, I'm not liking that, you know, but you just work with it because until you're fully awake, you have to work with yourself on where you are. And let go of the judgment of whether it looks good or whether it looks bad, and just be with what the guidance is. Because the very thing that may look bad in your transformation is most likely the very thing you need in that transformation. You know, because we don't always know what it is we need when we're transforming our own selves, when we're transforming our consciousness, because it's all about how do you transform your consciousness, because all manifestation, all change starts with the change in your consciousness. It doesn't happen any other way. So Ballerina Fairy wants you to start looking at where are you in your life where you've just been living life as a habit. Because, oh, now it's coming back to me what they want me to say. Many years ago, when I was first on the Buddhist path, not very first, but I'd been on the Buddhist path for a while, like maybe, not a while, like a long time, but maybe 2-3 years. And in that 2 or 3 years that I was on it, you know, I was developing my Buddhist practice and what I was doing and, you know, going deeper into my practice. But I went to see a Buddhist leader that had been, because now I call myself a Buddhist yogi if you're new here. And so I'm an interfaith minister and I honor all paths. I don't have like one that I tell people is better. This Buddhist teacher said to me, oh, you know, you don't want to live life as a habit. And it really encouraged everybody that was there to start looking at their life and go, where am I living it as a habit? And really evaluating, like, is that serving me? And so I start to like chant for not living life as a habit, to like really embrace the truth of like what I'm here to be, do, and have. And as I did that, my whole life got upended, but it was the best thing that ever happened in my life. Like, it didn't feel like it at the beginning, you know, like when it was happening. I just felt like, oh my God, what is going on here? And like, be careful what you chant for, you know, be careful what you wish for, kind of thing. But then I started to see like, oh, I'm seeing the benefits here. You know, when it felt like it was upending my life, I like even started to make more money, started to make more friends, started to act on the things that were really deeply true in my heart, rather than just the day-to-day, what I think I have to do or should do. That started just to become more involved in my life. So I just really started to like embrace that. And so that made me grow even more spiritually. That never would have happened if I hadn't done that. So the ballerina, ballerina fairy wants to come through. They want to come through because the butterfly fairy is talking about transformation, but the ballerina fairy is saying, this is what they're saying now. They're saying, where in your life do you actually start to need to embrace dancing through joy with life? Like, you're not doing that. You're going too much in the shoulds and have to. And they're not talking about like excitement. They're talking about joy. Like, what speaks to your heart? So they want me to share with you, like, painting is my joy. It speaks to my heart. It brings me, you know, this joy just when I do it. I just love it. And so they're asking me to ask you, where in your life do you need to bring in more joy into your life? That you're something that you know really speaks to you, but you haven't been doing it because of all the shoulds and have-tos. So that you want to start doing that. The ballerina fairy says that's like the first transformation, is to start thinking about what brings you joy, what awakens your joy. And it might not be anything to do with your career or making money. You know, it could just be something you love doing. So I love connecting with the spirit guides and creating the portals. And I have been known to get caught up in the shoulds myself, and having to come back to, wait a minute, let me get back to reconnecting with the guides. So the spirit guides, why they come to help you is because we get caught in our programming. And they're here to give you that higher guidance. You know, and if you've heard me say that before, because you've been here before, you must be needing to hear it again, because they're guiding me to say it again. Because one of the biggest things on your path of awakening is you got to get okay with repetition. There are things you have to do repeatedly that make a difference if you want to grow your gifts spiritually. There are things you need to hear repeatedly, because often you need to hear it to have deeper understanding. Because if you've been on the spiritual journey for any time, you know it's not about something new and exciting. It's about how do you have deeper understanding of the spiritual truth. How do you have deeper understanding to apply it in a deeper way? I mean, like, oh, can you ask about me? Really curious what they have to say. Grish Sharma, sometimes they ask me to do that at the end. So if you're still on, please stay on, and I'll check in to see if they want me to. If you really want to do that, get more, and when I do my next live, that's going to be Your Spirit Guides Are Here, and I don't know if it's going to be the next one, but I will be doing another live it's called Your Spirit Guides Are Here. If you get on that one, we definitely, if you volunteer there, you can tune in and find out who your spirit guide is and what they might be telling you. So hopefully you're still on. Garishma Harma. I'm not sure how to say it. Anyway, I don't know if you're still there, but if you are, that would be where you could probably get a message. Today, the ballerina fairy wants me to more just kind of create this and talk to you about the transformation process because it's so important. They're telling me that too many people are getting stuck. Are any of you feeling stuck? Feeling like life is just kind of happening to you? That's what they're talking about, feeling stuck. Like you feel like life is happening to you and that you can't seem to create what you want. Or that maybe you create what you want, but it still feels like something is missing. Because if something's missing, you feel like something's missing. Like there's just like, yeah, it's okay, but I still feel like, is this it? Then you want to start communing with the spirit guides to find out what it is that you need to do to start having transformation, to embrace that. And the butterfly fairy is saying that first thing with transformation is to have it is to acknowledge that there's some area of your life that you're dissatisfied with. You know, like you can't transform something if you keep pretending everything's good when you really don't feel that way. So she's saying that that's what's really important to do, is to start to acknowledge the areas of your life that you aren't as satisfied with, that you'd like. You know, like sometimes if you've been in a relationship for a long time, people tend to like have areas they're not satisfied with, but they feel like there's nothing they can do. And the butterfly light fairy is saying there's always something that can be transformed. Transformation is part of the process of life, and your imagination of starting to own what you really, 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 really want is what will start to help transform it to what you really, really want. Is that making sense to everybody? I don't know who's might be, but if you get what the butterfly light fairy is saying, she's saying embrace transformation. Embrace I'm gonna embrace the idea that one of your spiritual gifts is that your imagination, your ability to speak words that are empowered words, that those are your superpowers that allow you to start to create what you want. You know, a lot of times people won't give something a voice because they think they can't have it. They're afraid they're going to look stupid or silly. And in order to transform your life into what you want, whatever that is that's lacking, she's saying you have to give it a voice. Like what you want to transform. So like when I got the guidance that I felt like I was living life as a habit, and when the reason why I embraced when that spiritual teacher said not to live life as a habit was because I felt like my life was stagnating. You know, when I was really honest with myself, I felt like I was stagnating, that I had a lot of success financially. I had a relationship that I loved the person, but I felt like it was stagnating, and I didn't know what to do about it. And because that person was someone who at that time was easily got jealous, I felt like I didn't know what to say to the person. So I thought if I said something about, do you feel like things are stagnating? She was going to feel like, oh, threatened, you know, like maybe I was leaving, of which I wasn't. But I started to chant to not live life as a habit, and everything blew up but yet it was the best thing that ever happened. You know, like when I say blew up, like the relationship ended, and it wasn't my doing that why it ended. It was her ending it, but it actually made me realize that, you know, it was time for that relationship to end, because some like relationships aren't meant to go on forever. You know, some are, but some aren't. And I'm a very loyal, committed person, but when that person left, I was like, oh, I guess it's not supposed to, even though I thought it was going to be forever, I guess it's not. And so sometimes we have to come to terms with that. So the butterfly light fairy wants you to really look at your life, because they said that's the first step in having transformation that you are creating, that you are embracing, is really getting honest with yourself. And she's coming as light because she wants you to get that this light energy can easily transform things. And you are this powerful being where you start to transform things by, one, speaking your truth, giving it a voice. Two, by using your imagination to imagine what it is that you truly desire. You know, and part of knowing what you truly desire is learning how to get out of your head and into your heart. And when I say getting out of your head and into your heart, what I've been guided that means is, it's, you know, we tend to make decisions or make choices by all the rules and made-up beliefs we have in our head, rather than sitting with ourselves and asking what is true. You know, so it's important to start asking yourself what's true. Because this sounds corny, but they're telling me to say this anyway. The truth will set you free. You know, like you can never get free from the challenges and struggles if you don't actually speak what the truth is about what it is you're truly, 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 truly desiring in your life. And you may not know what all that is, but the first point they're saying is to just at least voice that there's a level of dissatisfaction, that nothing can ever get better if you don't voice what you're dissatisfied with. Now, they don't want you to get stuck in that, because they're saying what happens for a lot of people is they get stuck in complaining mode. Complaining about this isn't working, complaining about that, complaining about the other person. If that other person would just change, then I'll be happy. And they're saying that that's the farthest energy from transformation. If you're thinking that someone else has to change in order for you to be happy, they said that you will continually be unhappy. That you cannot wait for someone else to change to be happy. Now, they said you can practice revision, and that's the beauty about the light is, you know, light can be reflected differently. Light can be easily changed, transformed, and so they want you to start embracing that. So So the ballerina fairy is coming in again, and she wants to talk about how the ballerina fairy and the butterfly light fairy work together. She says, because you want to bring the energy of transformation in, but what do you want to transform to? And that transformation, you want to focus it on what brings you joy, because you are meant to be, the thing they want you to really get in this transformation is that every soul on the planet is meant to be joyful. You're meant to be having eternal happiness, they're saying. It's not about having like that happiness where you win the lottery or something. Eternal happiness is you have that joy that's within you, no matter what's going on in your life. And that is available to everyone, even if you don't believe it yet. They're saying it is definitely available to everyone. But it starts with taking the active power that you have of utilizing your spiritual gifts that you were born with in the way they were meant to be used. Because most of us use the spiritual gifts we have in the complete opposite way they were intended to be used. So they're actually saying that I should tell you about, on my website, there's a free giveaway. It's called Your Spiritual Gifts Revealed, that tells you the different spiritual gifts, not every spiritual gift, but the ones that most people don't realize are gifts and that they're utilizing incorrectly. And in the free handout that gives you like the list of what they are and what your first steps are. It's a little, it helps you to start to embrace your gifts. It'll give you your first steps, because many people don't understand what those gifts are. You know, like the gift of your spiritual gift of your imagination. Now, as you develop them, and that's the thing they want me to share with you, is I started to, I had the spiritual gift of being an empath and being able to sense what people, excuse me, were feeling and what was happening. But I never had the gift of sight, of these visions I get, and that came later with me combining my creativity with spiritual practices, that I started to get these visions and downloads from these spirit guides. So I tell people, you don't ever know what's going to happen with your gifts and what's going to come forth as you're on the path of awakening, because things happen. You think you might be one way, and it's self-definition. And when you can let go of those self-definitions, you start to go, oh, like I had a self-definition of that I was non-visual. And surprise, all of a sudden spirit guides started coming to me. So I tell people now, never rule out anything, because you just don't know. And if you want to get that free giveaway, I forgot, let me put it up. Your Spiritual Gifts Revealed, you can go to my website, deepaloo.com. Let me put that up here just for you guys. It's on the home page, so you can just go to deepaloo.com on the home page, and let me find it. You can get it there. Just go on the home page, and then if you want to just go to the page also, it's deepaloo.com/free-spiritual gifts-revealed, which is not the easiest one. That's why I say if you want to go get it, go to spiritual deepaloo.com, and it's on the home page that you can actually go in and put your email in and get the free download and start working on how you can start to awaken your gifts. So we got like about 10 minutes left. And for those of you who are live, if you're still on and you want to ask a question to the spirit guides, feel free to put the question in the comments. I'll tune in and ask what they want. We're not going to actually tune in to find out who your spirit guide is today. That's a whole different, but we can ask the question if you have one, because they're asking me to actually go ahead and offer that to anybody who's on live. And if you're listening to this in the recording, please feel free to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and you'll get notified for the next live. And so I don't see anybody asking. I don't know if Girish Sharma, if you're still there, ask your question that you want to ask. I'm going to step back and look at the painting and to see if anybody puts anything in there. If you have a question of the spirit guides, just something you're wanting higher guidance on, something that maybe you need a little help with, spirit guides. We're going to tune in specifically to the butterfly light fairy. This isn't done yet, but it's getting there. Feel free to ask. So you have to be live to ask a question, because I tune into your energy and ask the spirit guides what's going on. So if you have a question, I think the person might be gone. So if anybody else has a question, if not, I'll tune in and just ask them what else they have to share with you, because this is what it looks like so far. We're not done yet. We'll be working on it the next time. Next week I don't do a live. It'll be the week after. I'll be doing a live at 3:30 Eastern time. Your spirit guides are here when I do that. Typically it's at 5:30 Eastern time, and right now we're in daylight savings time, just so you guys know. But again, if someone has a question, they want to ask the spirit guides a question, please put it in the comments and I'll answer the question. And if not, we'll probably wrap it up in a few minutes if nobody asks. One thing I always like to say, if you like what you're seeing, please give me a thumbs up. It all helps my channel. I get that. And then all my little pieces of artwork. You know, that's why I say if you can do your creative things here, it's always good to do it. Oh, Zion on the mountain. Let's see. I'm going to school and I'm planning on either pursuing music therapy or a combination of music, drama, art for my first bachelor's degree. One is guidance on how to decide which route to go. Okay. Zion on the mountain. Let me ask the butterfly light fairy. Okay, Zion on the mountain, what she's saying is that you really need to start practicing being in the feminine energy of receptivity. And, you know, I don't know when you got on, you may have just gotten on, but I don't know if you heard any of the things I said earlier about how it's so important to get out of your head and into your heart. And she's saying if you want to go to follow one of these things, it's not about making a logical, practical decision. It is about like putting your hands in your heart, tuning in to like what are you sensing, and to take each of those things you're talking about. So pursuing music therapy or a combination of music, drama, art for your first bachelor's degree. So you want to like bring up each one and tune into your heart and say, what does your heart feel? Like, what are you sensing in your heart? So if you say music, am I to pursue music therapy? You put your hands in your heart and you sense, what am I sensing in my heart? So what you're looking to sense is there an expansive feeling in your heart or a contractive feeling? And the expansive feeling is what I have found is a yes to pursue that. The contractive feeling is a no, because what you're wanting to do is, and the reason why the spirit guides are all about helping you step into your gifts and your powers and learning how to do it for you. You know, I mentor clients that work with programs with me because maybe they're wanting to really get in touch with their heart and learn how to grow spiritually and connect with their guides. But the ultimate goal, even when they work with me, is how do we help you do that? Because, you know, I want you to be able to be self-sufficient with their spirit guides, not dependent on me forever, you know. And if I only work with people and keep giving them messages, then you're always dependent on me. So this is they're giving you guidance to help you, Zion on the Mountain, to like how you can start doing this for yourself. Now, let me just tell you, if we were working in a one-on-one appointment, they will give more specific answers because we're in public forum. They only are going to reveal so much because we don't know if everything's appropriate to say when other people can hear it. Okay, so I always like to let people know that. The other thing I tell people is when guidance comes through and you're hearing it, be open to whether it resonates with you, because the thing is, you know, we're all one, we're all connected, and often someone will get guidance and it actually resonates with the other person. Let me finish your guidance out on the mountain. So put your hand on your heart and you're looking. So you take each one and you put your hand on your heart and you sense what you're feeling. Because they're saying that it is so important that you follow what is true in your heart, not what you're being told by parents, friends, which direction will bring you the most money. They're saying that if you actually do what's true and also embrace that you can make money doing whatever is true in your heart, that it will be true. Is that making sense, Zion on the Mountain? So they gave you some guidance on like what to do, like take that moment. And they're saying to do this thing with the practice of putting your hands on your heart and sensing. Before you start, they're telling you to breathe in and out and calm yourself, because that's slow breathing. They're telling me to tell you your mind and your breath are connected. And so before you do the practice of putting your hands on your heart, to breathe deeply in the belly and then exhale. And what you're wanting to do is you calm yourself and bring your energy inward. Because if you're watching TV or listening to music, or all your energy is outward, and that's going to be that the influence of the outer world is going to make you make a decision that's not true in your heart. So hopefully that, I mean, they gave some extra, hopefully that makes sense to you, Zion on the Mountain. I love it if you come to the next one and tell me like what you got. I love to get feedback and see, like, did that help you? Did it make a difference for you? Because I love seeing when people get spirit guide messages that really transform them, because they're always here to help you in your transformation process. And that's the thing about the butterfly light fairy, is she wants to come and help you. So there, you know, that one of the things for everybody who sees this, whether you're seeing it live or in the recording, is the butterfly light fairy wants you to work with their energy, her energy, of being the energy of transformation, of helping you in your transformative process. Because if you're wanting to grow spiritually, you're on the path of awakening, it's a transformation process, right? You won't become fully awake without transforming. And what are you trying to transform? You're not trying to transform into the awakened soul, because you already are the awakened soul, but you're transforming your consciousness so that you can, number one, believe it. Number two, keep all your attention on it, because that's what makes us be awake, is that we can keep, you know, our attention determines where the energy flows and determines what manifests in our lives. Now, sometimes our attention is in our subconscious mind focused on something that we're not aware of. And so that's why developing the practice of awareness is so important. And that's one of the reasons why I recommend people meditate. It's because meditation raises your level of awareness. And to transform things, transform you, transform your life, you know, you have to have your high awareness. So hopefully that's making sense. All right, Zion on the Mountain, hopefully you got both parts of the message, with the part about breathing before you do the practice. All right, any other questions before we wrap it up? Anybody else who wants to ask questions? Zion on the Mountain, thank you so much for your question. It's so fun to have people participate. I'd love it if anybody else has a question. I think the Grishma actually left. I'll give it another minute or two just to see if anybody else comes on. Oh, good. Okay, Zion on the Mountain, hope to see you like in the next live to see, you know, how it works for you. Because if you have challenges with it, like if someone works with me ongoing, that's when we would talk about the next thing the guides would say, because the spirit guides are always working with you to have that transformation. And if something else has come up, It's not like something's wrong with you or that the guidance that they're giving you is wrong. It's about maybe there's a slight translation that needs to be changed a little bit, because I'm the translator. I'm like tuning in to what they're saying, what they're guiding me to tell you. And sometimes I say it in a way that maybe doesn't totally resonate with you. And so in this forum, we can't really go back and forth. You know, when I work with people individually, obviously we're live on Zoom where we can talk actually live. So, and if anybody out there is like, I'm ready to start working with the spirit guides because I really want to know what's true in my heart and act on my purpose, I want to start manifesting it, please feel free to take advantage of my next step connection call. I'll put that up for you. It's, you go to deepaloo.com/gift. Here it is. deepaloo.com/gift for your complimentary connection call. And we can see if we're a fit, because it's all about, are we a fit? And also, are you ready? Because the thing about when I work with people individually, I don't want anybody coming to work with me who's not ready, spend their money and a waste of money. It's about, are you ready? Are you a fit? Because I help you determine that too, because often people think they're ready and they're really not. So, and also, if you want to be part of a community, because welcome to this community, because even this live is a community, but I'm going to be launching a spiritual community called Spiritual Awakening Temple. And it's about a community about these 4 pillars that are important in your path of awakening, and helping you with that, helping you grow spiritually, helping you to implement those 4 pillars so you can step into your awakening process, because it is a process. I meet very few people where they awaken just like that. It's usually this process you go through and you awaken, for most people, a little bit by little bit. So, don't see any other questions. So I think I'll be signing off here. All right. The next live will be, what's it next week? Look at my calendar, because I actually can't remember what the date is next. It won't be next week. It'll be the week after. And I can't remember the date now, because obviously I'm not that organized where I've thought it through. So let's see. Oh, wait, actually, no. Next week, there will be a live, but yeah, there will be a live next week. It's the week after there won't be one. I got the weeks messed up, so I'm glad that I checked it. It'll definitely be like, I might have to shift the time a little bit, because I have a different live too at 5:30 in a different platform. So, but there will definitely be a live next week. So, like I said, if you haven't tuned in, please subscribe, then you get notified. All right. Blessings. Thank you so much for everyone who's been here live with me, the spirit guides, and I truly appreciate it. It is such a blessing to get to bless you. It is such a joy to get to share with you the spirit guides that are here wanting you to have that higher guidance so you can get beyond that programming that tells you to do your shoulds and have tos rather than doing what's true in your heart. All right. Blessings to all. Take care.